Ohio State and Wisconsin, and this is something Tim will stick around for, but Tim's going to head out after this game. Tim, we'll let you kind of go first here, and then we'll let Rajiv just tell us how great Wisconsin was in this game, but we'll let Tim go first. Tim, what were your thoughts on the Ohio State loss over Wisconsin?
Yeah, I hammered Ohio State for one of the first times this season, and I would say it's the most lazy and hard to prove and easy take in the world, but Ohio State did not play hard in this one. They got out rebounded in the first half, 22-9. They gave up 6 offensive rebounds in the first half, leading to 11 points. And there were players who were just out of position and did not try to rebound. Felix Okpara got out rebounded by AJ Storr once. Devin Royal got out rebounded by Chucky Hepburn late in the first half. And it was just a simple fact of this team did not really prove that it wanted to be there in that game against Wisconsin. They lost by 8 and they were -9 in the free throw battle. Wisconsin made 8 free throws. I think Ohio State made 1. So maybe they were -7. I don't remember what the exact number was, but they lost by 8. So this game was more than winnable for Ohio State, but the offense continues to be sticky. They play like they're playing in rain boots. You've got, it's the typical reverse the ball screen. Bruce Thornton try to roll. If he doesn't get anything, he's going to reverse it, and they'll throw up a bad 3 at the end of the shot clock. So it was another really, really poor performance from Ohio State. Offensively, defensively, they were dropping on every single ball screen. They were not talking or communicating through off-ball screens and giving up a bunch of open looks to Wisconsin. They were in it through the end of the first half. With the amount of open looks that they gave to Wisconsin in the first half, it was clear they weren't going to be able to stick around in the second, and Wisconsin ended up pulling away even without how well Ohio State played offensively in the second half. So not a good performance. Understand in this regard why Ohio State decided to part ways with Chris Holtmann. With that type of performance, the team looked lost. The team did not look inspired. And it's a lazy take, and it's hard to prove, but that's what I saw from Ohio State.
Well, Rajiv, there was no better team to, get at home. Maybe Michigan would be the only other better team, but fortunately Illinois got them at home earlier in the day. But there was pretty much no better team to get at home to break a 4-game losing streak. Did you see what you wanted to see from the Badgers to make that happen, or do you maybe still have some concerns after the past 5 games?
There's definitely some concerns. I mean, the 4-game losing streak, especially the losses at Michigan and Rutgers, just opened up a huge can of worms. The first half in Nebraska was great. Since halftime in Nebraska game, we've been a bit of a different team. So we needed the Ohio State win, which was great. Ultimately, the Gray Guard made some adjustments. There were some clear coaching moves that needed to be made and really just more player decisions. AJ Storr has been fantastic for us. Absolutely fantastic. But the one area where Badger fans really question is shot selection, especially at times around the 3-point arc. And there's been a clear message to AJ Storr to drive, get dribble penetration, use your athleticism, and get to the rim, get fouled if you can't finish. And he did that last night, and he was crashing the boards. He had 14 points, 12 rebounds. We out-rebounded Ohio State 39-26. That's obviously why we won the game. There's no doubt about that. But Stephen Crow also really needed to kind of refocus on his game. And be more aggressive. When he's open at the top of the key, he needs to shoot the ball every time. There is no reason why he shouldn't. But he's been a little gun shy lately. He's been bodied up by very physical 5s. Another reason I want Okpara. And so that's a weakness of his. He's been doubled down a lot in the post, and then he's trying to get out of that and making some poor passes. We still turn the ball over way too much, but it was a better game. It's a game we needed to win. And if we have to win ugly like that to get our win total ready for March, that's fine. We've got another road game at Iowa this weekend, and that's going to be difficult, but we just got to keep winning at home. So was it super pretty? No. Are Badger fans thrilled? No, but I still said it's a huge win because when you're on a 4-game losing streak, your season can go in a tailspin very, very quickly, or you can bounce back and realize, okay, you're still in 3rd in the Big Ten. You can probably finish 2nd. You can still get a top 5, top 6 seed in the tournament. So everything's in front of you. And that's the mentality we had last night. And really the coaching moves, I think, were big. And the players responded clearly to what was needed.
Yeah, no, anytime you're on a losing streak, you get that win. It doesn't really matter how you play. It's a huge win. And obviously you want to nitpick, how did they play and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're just glad to walk away with the win for sure. So Anthony, outside perspective, watching the game, obviously you didn't have really any rooting interest, but Wisconsin has been struggling. Ohio State just came off a win against Maryland. What were your thoughts over the game?
I'd say I have some rooting interest. MSU is still in the mix for a top 4 seed. So anytime a team that's in the mix for that top 4 in the, getting a double bye is, it's nice to have that.
Right.
This was definitely a get right game for Wisconsin, right? They desperately needed this one, losing at Michigan. That's ugly. Rutgers, maybe a little less so because they're always tough at the rack, but still Wisconsin's a significantly better team than them. And they needed to step up their play. It was gritty. It was low scoring, right? I think it was 39 points in the first, 15 minutes of the game between the two teams, which is that's just really ugly. Unfortunately, Ohio State fell victim to their, very inconsistent offense. They had one field goal in the last 7 minutes of the half, and that just on the road, that's not going to cut it. And they were, you guys touched on it already, but the rebounding, you could see a discernible difference. Wisconsin was getting all the 50-50 balls, and that made the difference. Credit to Ohio State for getting it within 5, midway through the second half, but you could just see that they didn't have the legs, the steam to stick with Wisconsin. So, definitely get right game for Wisconsin. They want to stay in the mix for a top 4 seed, and not just in the Big Ten, but in the tournament as well. And a game like this is, if they lose a game like this, that really puts them in danger of losing that, top 4 slot in the tournament and getting a, favorable draw.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they if Michigan State can get one of those top seeds in the tournament, it's definitely going to help them out in a few different ways. And Wisconsin is certainly one of those teams that needs to fall a little bit lower for that to happen. Tim, as you watch Ohio State lose this game and you kind of think about Ohio State now moving on without Chris Holtmann in the gameplay, things like that, do you have any hope for maybe the team will come out more inspired? Maybe this team can, maybe go on an end of the year run, kind of like they did in the Big Ten tournament last year with Jake Diebler as the head coach now, just coming off of this game and seeing the way Ohio State played kind of uninspired ball. Do you have any thoughts going forward with Ohio State after this?
Yeah, I have less hope than I did this morning, essentially. Chris Holtmann is the players' coach. Everything that I've heard within the program is that the players, even through all of this, still love playing for Chris Holtmann. There was also a report that came out that the players did not get to say goodbye to Chris Holtmann today. And I think that's going to hurt morale as well. And look, Jake Diebler is essentially the offensive coordinator for Ohio State. In the past 2 seasons, they've been outside the top 40 in offensive efficiency. That'll be the first time that happened since 2016 and 2017. Outside of that, they're absolutely garbage defensively. So, no, I don't really have a lot of hope that Ohio State can be any better. I think it's going to hurt their morale. Jake Diebler has no head coaching experience. They have one other coach on the entire coaching staff with head coaching experience who never went over 500 in his 5 seasons at Miami of Ohio, returned 99% of scoring production, 98% of rebounding production, and all 5 starters in his final year at Miami, and still could not go over 500. So I think this is another issue with Chris Holtmann during his time at Ohio State. He didn't really build the strongest staff. And I don't think that right now Jake Diebler is going to be able to push them in the right direction. I think this game against Purdue is going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be tough for Ohio State to pick up more than 2 wins down the stretch here.
Well, it's going to be hard for it to be worse than the bloodbath was this past weekend when IU played Purdue. So as long as they don't have that kind of performance, they're good, right?
Don't challenge Ohio State with a good time. That's all I'll say.
I'm just glad that Zach Edey got his first career 3 out of the way, because I was certain for a fact that it was going to happen against Michigan State. It still might happen when we go to Mackey. We just that place is a house of horrors for us. Question:
everyone.
Is Jake Diebler related to John?
Yes, he is. They're brothers. Jake actually had as good as a high school career as John did in the state of Ohio. I think he leads Ohio still in either assists or steals in high school basketball history. So yes, they are related. Basically all of that team, Greg Oden, John Diebler, and I think maybe William Buford are all involved in the staff there at Xavier with Thad Matta. So yeah, it's a family affair over there at Butler, and Jake's still here with Ohio State.
Yeah. I love John Diebler when he played at Ohio State, and the thought of Jake Diebler is fun.
I remember that game at Penn State where he hit 10. That dude could just fill up the scoreboard like none other.
The good old days. Yep.
Jake Diebler might get the job if he has a way of bringing John Diebler back. That's a good point. We should reach out to Gene Smith and see if there's possibility there. All right, before we move on, Rajiv, Wisconsin, obviously, they have 6 games left. You mentioned the game at Iowa. Their 2 biggest games left on the schedule. They play at home against Illinois, and then final game of the season at Purdue. Just give us real quick your expectations for this team ending out the season. And, would you be happy with maybe a 3 or a 4 seed, or do you think they need to continue to win and they can get higher than that? What are your thoughts just overall the rest of the season, Rajiv?
Yeah, I mean, I think we, at this point, based on coming into the season, if you'd have told me we were going to be finished 3rd or 4th in the Big Ten, we would have taken it. But we had a great start to the year, and AJ Storr was even better than we thought he was going to be. And the addition of Blackwell as a freshman, he's been a great 6th man. So at this point, though, I do kind of expect I want to finish 2nd, and that's where I want to finish 2nd in the league. Obviously, no one's catching Purdue, and that's fine. But I think Illinois and Wisconsin, they're probably a better team than us overall. They've got a ton of athleticism, but I think we can finish above them. So at this point, we got 3 road games left, Iowa, Indiana, and Purdue. If we win 1, that's great. Our home games, we got Illinois at home. We've got Maryland at home. We need to win our home games, lose a couple road games. That finishes 7 losses. I think that probably puts us in 2nd or 3rd place, and that's fine. Ultimately, what we're going for, preferably, is a top 4 to 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, and it's all about the draw and see what happens. I mean, I think that we can be a Sweet 16 team. That's probably the ceiling for us at this point. Maybe if the draw is lucky, we can compete for an Elite 8 spot, but that's unlikely. We just want to get to the Sweet 16. That's something that Greg Gard needs to have done. And whether it happens this year, who knows, but we need to compete. And we need to be in a position to actually make it happen.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.